Good afternoon, people. I know what you're thinking. I'm standing in the atrium of the what leads to be the dungeon. Now, of course, you know, as I go downstairs, you're seeing this wall, which is I'll fan out a little bit. Now, when I said I was obsessed, you get the gist of it. Also, being that this is just stuff hanging on the wall going downstairs. If you've seen any of the previous videos, you know the rest down there is about just as worse. Here's another fellow. It's on my Facebook, Alex Klein. Alex, we'll just say Alex. He's probably about as obsessive as I am, but he runs a page called Chevy Sucks. I think that's it. I think he's a Ford guy. Then again, maybe he's just a whatever guy. I mean, all of us can't be, one branded. Anyhow, we're going to motivate our way on down towards the downstairs. As you can see, there's all kinds of neat little things on the wall. Anyway, let's sit down here. The wall of hats. As you already know, I wear hats. So, my latest hat is not a sponsor, but the job I have now, we use Valvoline. So, I got a free Valvoline hat. I actually like the way it fits, so that's why I'm wearing it. Let's go in the What? I don't know. My cat's talking to me. Anyway, so as you can see, the walls are covered with Hot Wheels. Yeah, I know. That looks like a long wall, don't it? It's a long wall. And it is. It goes all the way to the end of the room. Long wall over there. And it's got Hot Wheels on it. This over here, where my cup is pointing, this is the, do you mind, do you? Remember that library I was telling you about? These are all Pops. Well, most of them are his magazines. That's the bulk of them. I keep all of mine in the bottom down there, which mine are all Mustang magazines. I had more than I've got, but when I was moving around a lot, the bulk of them got thrown away. So, this is what's left. I know it doesn't look like a whole lot, but in this stack, which all you see is just the top 2 stacks, there's 2 more stacks. And a lot of those are Hot Rod, Carcraft. There's some Performance Pontiac in there. There's some Camaro Performers. There's trucks. A lot of them are Popular Hot Rodding, Carcraft, Hot Rod Magazine. Which I think you can still buy Hot Rod Magazine. I think it's still making it on the shelves, but I think it's also, it might all be digital. I don't read digital magazines because that's not my thing. Anyway, let's go out this way. You're not coming out here, dude. No, you don't need to come out here. Some other time, but I don't know for you. All right. So, I was talking to one of my guys at work. He actually follows my channel. And he wanted me to talk more about what I call the Jack White Chronicles. My dad's name was Jack. You know, the lectures I got all the time. And granted, I'm not trying to make the man sound bad. I mean, he couldn't be all bad. I mean, he left me a pretty cool car, so I figured I would give you some kind of context of exactly what the lectures were about. So, aside from that, the last two videos were on the Firebird there. Now, granted, I have developed a brand loyalty to Ford. I like the stuff that I have, and I like the stuff that I work on. Now, granted, General Motors, I liked it because that's what my dad had. But in a sense of wanting to work on General Motors products, this is the only General Motors product I probably would go for. I had a 71 Super Sport Nova a long time ago before I ever bought any Mustangs because, like I said, my dad was a Chevy guy. And that led me to the Nova. So, you know, a guy had a car for sale. And I said, yeah, I needed another car. And so I bought the Nova. Now, this car wasn't open to me because he was still alive and he was still working on it. And I'm pretty sure at the time he had just put that 383 stroker in it. So it wasn't something that was going to be readily available, put it that way. Now that it belongs to me and I'm trying to get past the mental block I have that the old man is still gone, and you know, I still have, I don't know, I still have something and I can't really explain what it is, and maybe somebody else probably could. I know they've gotten cars given to them and you know, inherited things and you know, that kind of thing. So it's not going to be cut and dry. Hey, the old man died. Now I got the car. A lot of times what people do is they don't necessarily want the car or cars, multiple cars. And so they just sell them because they have no value to them. They're not car guys. They're not into cars, fast cars, loud cars. They're not into any kind of automotive alchemy. You know, you got to make something happen. You gotta create. You know, they're not into that. Not mechanically inclined. Definitely not trying to get their hands dirty or greasy. So that's not an option. Fast forward. Here we are. We've made strides. Now, granted, like I said in the previous video, it took me a while to ever put my hands on it. So when I did actually take it apart, I started to notice things that weren't, you know, the same. Now, granted, once I started to acquire parts for it, I decided, I was driving a tow truck and I met people who had things, and I ran into people who were doing things that I wasn't, and I made some lasting relationships with them. You know, I don't talk to people on a regular basis, but if I see you, we're still cool. Granted, we know that Facebook and social media, a lot of those people we're friends with them on social media. So just because we don't talk to them face to face doesn't mean we're not still cool. So me and Chris German, we're still cool. I don't get over there too much. He's got other things going, but he also has American Muscle going. He's a Camaro guy, clearly. Chevy guy, but he's a Camaro guy. I think he works on other stuff. You know, I got most of my stuff, or I got all of my stuff besides the engine from him. The the rear end, which is here. I know it's a mess in here. I gotta clean this up. But I got the rear end from him. He had a 68 Camaro out back. He was parting it out. The rear end was in it. It's got drum brakes on it. Not really concerned, cause this ain't gonna be a corner carver or nothing. I got plenty of that out there in Mustangs. But I figured I would go back, like Pop did. Pop was from the 50s, 60s. The man was born in 1948, 1945. Or 48. One of them. Anyway, it was 40s. He's born in the 40s. So he grew up with all those cars that were all what we call hot rods now. So 68 Camaro rear end, which looks completely different from the rear end that I took out of this car. All that stuff is long gone. That's forward to this subframe here. Look, there's that Fenton slotted mag I was telling you about. This right here, that's the trunk lid off of this thing. And it was probably the only piece of metal on it that it looks okay, you know. It's got some rust spots, but it doesn't look as bad as the rest of the car did. But aside from that, I got the subframe from Chris German. Everything on it's brand new. It's got disc brakes on it, on the front. I think it's got big block springs in it. If it don't, I'm pretty sure I can change them. I thought about changing the control arm system, Detroit speed stuff, but then again, you know what? Maybe I'll just leave it. Just leave it old school. Everything on it is brand new. Brand new bushings, everything. Of course, you know, did some prep work on it. So that's why it looks as shiny as it does, and it's been sitting there for a few years now. And then, of course, you all saw the big block. That's mated for this thing. The transmission's over there in the corner, next to my workbench. But initially, you know, it's dusty. It is. You know, springtime hits, I'll clean this place out and dust it off. Buy me a trunk lid, put no trunk lid on it. You know, I'm back here in the back of the shop. Clearly, that's the front of the shop. And the chronicles will begin. When I say chronicles, when I start to working on this thing again, I'll give you some more stories that the old man would tell me. Now, you know, he would tell me stories about. Now, you know, we can't talk about street racing now because it's illegal. Granted, it was illegal then, but let's be realistic. I grew up in the 70s and 80s. And in the 70s and 80s, people street raced. That's what they did. Wasn't that big of a deal. It was rare if anybody got killed doing it. Now, people are more reckless, and it's way more dangerous. There's way more people on the roads. People ain't paying attention, and that kind of thing. And only way it really happens is if it's way out and it's a controlled event and people are really careful and that kind of thing. And you don't really get a lot of that, but we know it still happens. I don't get involved in any of that. One, I had a job where I couldn't get involved in it. You know, driving a tow truck, you can't be caught around any of that kind of stuff because, yeah, that's a no-no. But aside from that, the big block. and then the car itself. So we spent a lot of time down here trying to get past what this was and what it is now. What it is now, it's mine. And I think what I struggled with was trying to get past the realization that he was gone, he's not coming back, and now this is my problem. Granted, it would have been great if he had took care of this problem and this would have already been in the car. Granted, it still would have needed some work, but the car would have been running, the motor would have been in it, and I wouldn't have to take the drastic steps that I'm taking now. Which, I get a better camera and some other things, and we'll get into what the inside of this looks like, because he had quarters put on the car. You don't even want to see what I saw in there. In fact, that's a whole nother bag of worms. But aside from that, it's all there. It's not as bad as it looks. I mean, it's pretty solid for what it is. I don't know how I would feel if and when I get it running and start driving it, because I've only driven it one time. And I'll tell you when that was. So, I live in Cleveland. Athens is up the road. So, when I was going to auto body school at the Athens Votech facility in Athens, Tennessee, yeah, the old man said, I'll pay for it. I was shocked, because if you know my dad, he rarely would sign off on anything, especially if it had something to do with me. Now my sister is a little different, but if I said, hey, can you, he would, no, I'm not doing it. So when I said, think about going back to school. Now granted, I could have went to art school. That I don't really like art school. I like the idea of being able to go and draw and that kind of thing, and they ruined it for me. They just ruined it. That's another story. This thing right here, though. So, I had the Nova. And when I got the Nova, I decided I was going to go back to school because I wanted to paint the Nova myself. And this goes back to that story where I told you he had the 40 Ford Coupe. Took it to a body shop. 2 weeks later, he went there and the car was gone. Okay? That's how he ended up painting this car himself. And like I said, if you went to the Instagram and you saw the car on my Instagram, it was blue. The reason why it's yellow now is because I'm the one that painted it back this color. Now, granted, it sat for years after I repainted it. I sanded the blue off of it. He wanted to repaint it back butternut yellow. Went back with the original color, which he asked me to find out what the original color was, and it's got a VIN tag and plate with the color of the car on the firewall. And luckily my teacher, his name was Mitch Moles. I don't know if he's still alive or not, but Mitch was a 50s hot rodder, which is the coolest thing about being in auto body school, and I didn't want to work on wrecks. So old Mitch said, well, I got a 67 Impala back here that needs sanded down, and the guy wants it painted, so henceforth, bruh man went back there and started working on the old stuff. And then he let me work on my own car. So I don't know how many hours I had in my car. I painted my car and a couple of other cars. But it wasn't about working on new cars, because I don't like. I've painted a few newer cars. I don't really care for them, but I don't mind working on the old ones. And it's not really the painting; it's the wrecks. I hate working on wreck cars. I hate it. Anyway, onward. So, as far as this car goes, I started working on the Nova. I got the Nova done. He came to my house. He saw it. Now, I painted my Nova black. Now, back then, this was 2000, somewhere in there. 1989, 99, 2000. I took a hiatus from school, and then I went back and finished, which I got two different diplomas. One says 2001 and one says 2002. But I took like a couple months off because stuff was going on at the house. I went back, finished up. The last car I painted was his car, this car. So he brought it to me, I don't know, 3-4 months before I was to graduate. Sanded it down, sandblasted the front clip, took the hood off of it. He brought me another hood because the hood that was on it was bad. Which, the car that was stole from the side of his house, the 68, the hood came off that 68 and went on this. I think the whole front clip, the front fenders, the hood, had an aftermarket windshield put in it because the windshield that's in it is not the original windshield. The windshield that was in this car had windshield wiper scratches on it. That's how I know. I remember it. It's been that way since he got it. Since when I was a kid, it stayed in there. It had the original windshield. Sanded the car down. Got it painted. Now, this is, he had put the stroker in it. It had 383 stroker in it. And I never worked on the motor in it. It ran, and he did something to the carburetor. Now, it ain't like I don't know that. But I wasn't trying to mess with it because all I was supposed to be doing was painting it. But he put a limiter on the carburetor so it wouldn't go wide open. So there was no getting in this. It was fast, but it wasn't going to do all it would do. 400 had a 400 transmission in it, which it was a little sluggish. I don't know. This ain't my car, so I didn't build it. So however it ran the way it ran. But after I got it painted, charged up the battery, and my last day of school, I cranked it up. It had the paint had cured. It was slick, and back then there was this thing called the wet look. So the paint that I put on his car was the same paint that they painted it with in 1967. Went over there, and PPG mixed it up. PPG in Athens mixed it up for me, and asked him if he wanted the wet look. He said, "What's the wet look?" I said, "Trust me, I got the wet look on my car." So my car was black, and he liked the way my car looked, and it was deep, and it was black, and I hadn't even buffed my car, but it was slick. Trust me, I put a lot of time and a lot of work in that car, and I don't know how many hours I had on it, but it was a lot. I guess if I had to take a guess, I had 600-700 hours in it, just sanding on it and trying to get it slick, and listening to the master. You got to rub your hands on it. You got to, you got techniques that are used by old school guys that they don't teach you in body school now, because number one, the panels on a new car are way thinner. The panels on this car is solid metal, solid. I mean, you can lean on this car. Some of them out there, now the Fox body, it ain't too bad. Probably the 15, I wouldn't go leaning on it too much. It ain't as thin as a Volkswagen. You can't lean on a Volkswagen at all. But anyway, fast forward to, I got it painted, got everything put back on it, wiped it off, washed it, put the headlights and everything back in it, pulled it out my last day of school, and I was kind of proud of myself because, I whipped it out. It was kind of, remember the movie Corvette Summer? When they got the car done and the garage door came up and everybody's standing out there and the music starts playing and the car rolls out and everybody's looking at it? That's what it felt like. I pulled it out. Everybody was outside. And this thing, it sounded nasty. It had mufflers on it with cutoffs. I don't know how kind of mufflers he had on it, but it sounded nasty. It just did. Cranked it up, pulled it outside, let it sit there, and it was idling. It was shaking a little bit because that's what these old things did. And I got in it. I had already packed all my stuff up and threw it in the trunk here, and because I was done, He already gave me my certificate for completion of classes and everything. And everybody's out there going, yeah, go ahead and, turn it on over. Me, come on. He ain't there. He'll never know, right? And he never did, because I never did tell him, hey, I was out there and I put on the show. I dropped it down and just hit it, and it everybody's out there waving and hollering and screaming and jumping up and down. I'm like, throw my hand out the window and headed on up towards Clee Vegas. But yeah, that was the last hoorah. That was the last time. That was the first time I ever drove it myself, and that was the last time I ever drove it. And then he came and got it from my house. But I enjoyed the ride. I drove it from Athens back to my house, which is about, from my house to there, 20 miles. I drove about 20 miles, and I wasn't doing no more than 50, 60 miles an hour. I was just kind of cruising with that big steering wheel in it, because it's big. You know it's big. It's a 67 model car. It's got the big steering wheel in it. No radio. Didn't need one. It was just the sound of the motor humming along. You slow down a little bit and it's camming. And this thing was camming. It was definitely a memory. I'll never forget it. Just another chapter in the chronicles of Jack White's car. But yeah, he came and got it. What's funny is I parked it in the front yard of my house. Pulled it up in the yard and parked it. Called him on the phone and said, hey, I got your car done. Sounds like it worked on it. Got your car done. He said, all right. So he got up there and he walked over there. And then now, granted, this doesn't add contrast to this thing, because as now it looks dry. It's the paint's faded. But trust me, it was slick. It looked like it was soaking wet, but it was completely dry. He said, is it wet? I said, no, it's not wet. It's dry. It's completely dry. I baked that paint for 5 hours. After I painted it, closed the booth up, banked it for 5 hours, came back. It was ready to go. Rinsed it off with some water, drove it to the house. He's like, you sure it's dry? I said, touch it. He said, boy, that's slick. He said, boy, you did a good job on it. I said, yeah. You think so? He said, yeah, you outdid yourself. I said, well, I told you. You saw mine. Mine was parked over in the driveway on the side of the house, and I parked his in front of the house. So my car was sitting on the side of the house in the sun, gleaming, and I parked his in front of my house in the sun, gleaming. So he was in awe. His son did him a solid. But yeah, he drove back home, and then when he passed away, I found some of his photo albums where he took it back home and took all these pictures of it. He was all just, I get it. He took all these pictures of it, and I was like, okay, I got him. He got me with it, but I got him with it when I got it done. So we got each other. He got me with the motor, didn't have a clue, and he wasn't expecting me to do that great of a job on it. I don't know if he thought. And it wasn't a run on this car, not one run. When you first start doing this, people say, oh, you might make some mistakes, and it ain't gonna be perfect. No, you take your time. See, painting a car ain't about how fast you get it done. Your prep work is where it shows through. How straight you get the panels, no scratch marks. You lay the paint on nice and smooth and even. You don't overlap it to where you got more paint in one panel than the other. Because if you was to mill it, you got 6 mills on one panel and 3 on the other. Yeah. So yeah, I learned to do it correctly, and it showed in the job. I shocked him, impressed him. Not that that was fairly easy because I know my work ethic, and my work ethic is impeccable. Especially if it's something I'm doing, and eventually it's going to be mine. Now, granted, once I paint this again, it'll be impeccable. There'll be no runs or anything. It's going to be perfect, depending on if I decide I want to paint it or if I just leave it the way it is. Which that's the thing now. Patina, trust me, it's got patina a lot. But anyway, enough about the car. So, I think I've rambled on enough about it. Another chronicle down the tube on this 67 Firebird. And I can give you a rundown of Firebirds if you don't know. That'll be another time. I've talked enough, I think. Aside from that, I appreciate you listening to me on my channel. You know, there's lots of other channels that people have and might be way more interesting. It ain't flashy. I don't have any music playing in the background, and I don't have a flashy intro or any of that crap. Because you know what? I'm a regular Joe. I don't have a production team making my videos. I come down here and I talk about life. This is my life. Now, granted, my life ain't revolved around a car because, like I told you before, like Pop said, when you leaving, this is irrelevant. But right now, this is where I choose to spend my time at. This is what I choose to be passionate about because he was passionate about it. And he gave me that passion, so I'm just kind of relaying it to some of y'all, which y'all might be passionate about. Something y'all like, you know, a motorcycle or old raggedy car, you know, a bunch of parts laying around, they're greasy, like an old country song, you know, that kind of thing. So we're gonna start working. I think that this will be a therapeutic experience. Granted, you know, when we all lose somebody, we get to the point where they say you still talk to him. I still talk to him. You know, I feel like this car is his essence. You know, he's gone, but that's what we're known for. Like my car. Not my new one so much, but the one people knew me for that I drove. Well, now my son drives it, but everybody still knows that's my car. They still know, well, that was his car. That's the car he drove. Yeah. Well, they'll see me driving something else, which my new car, it's newer. But I got older stuff out here that I really want to get running, and I'll probably drive that more than a new car because I enjoy driving an old car. I just do. So when your essence is in that old car and you leave that car to somebody, they still smell you in the car. They still feel your presence in the car. So that means he's still in the car. So when I come down here, it's like I come down here and I'm talking to him. He's the car is him. That's how I know him. That was him. If you know where I'm at, you know what I mean. Anyway, I think I've wrapped enough. So we're gonna get there. It's gonna take a lot of time. It's gonna take a lot of time. I appreciate you following me on my journeys, whatever that is. Whether I'm out there working on the new car, or the Fox body, or Big Sister, the 65, or the Bird here. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there together. If you stay with me, you'll see this, all of this progress, and see the Jack White Bird progress, and maybe we'll all learn something in the process. You know, it ain't always about cars. Sometimes it's about feelings and dealing with emotional things that happen in life. Because, men, we internalize. Sometimes the only way we can get rid of it is to talk to each other. So my channel is not just me talking about working on cars, because everybody does that. But I think I've been here long enough that I can relay some life messages too. Also, be sure to leave a comment. I appreciate any kind of feedback. If you got some, or you just want to comment on what you saw. You see something that looks cool, or you want to ask some questions, I'll answer you. I mean, this ain't nothing but a bunch of junk down here. Once this junk gets together, then it becomes something. Right now, it's just a bunch of parts. A bunch of parts and an idea. Until next time, keep it between the ditches, or what they say on the Dragon, keep between the mustard and the mayonnaise. And being that it's icy outside, stay off the roads if you ain't got to go out there. But I'll catch y'all on the next one.